Welcome to The Kingdom, a podcast dedicated to CCBC Essex athletics in a land defended by Sir Ross's Knights. Now here's your host, Rocco Geppi.
Hello, Knights Nation, and welcome back to The Kingdom podcast. And thank you for joining us. Season 4, episode number 13. The days, they're getting shorter, and we are now in the middle of November. We have a lot to talk about in this episode. We have some championship talk to continue. This week, though, we are going to lead things off with a different lineup as I welcome in the head women's basketball coach here at the Kingdom, Mr. Mike Seney. Mike, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Rock.
It's my pleasure. So it had been some 600 plus days since the last time the Knights hit the hardwood or the court, depending on where you're located, I guess. And you guys so far, the gals, I should say, have really come out running and averaging exactly 85 points in your first 3 games. Everything on the road. And by the time this one airs, you'll have your 4th game played at Del Tech. All 4 of those are going to be on the road. First of all, tell me the feeling of being back on the court and coaching meaningful basketball games.
Man, Rock, it feels so good, man. We had a coaches meeting last weekend in North Carolina after our first game down there, and we just talked about how great it felt to be back, man. We had some preseason games, some scrimmages, but they just don't feel quite the same.
Sure.
We're back now and we're rocking and rolling. Feels like we got a game every other day almost. It just feels so great, doing what we love to do again.
That's awesome. Out of the gate, you guys, you head north to Bryn Mawr to take on Harkin Community College, kind of not too far away from some of your younger day stomping grounds. I know you had some support up there. You guys get off to a 86-53 win. And, I think one of the most fun things is watching and hearing about this team is you win a game by 30 plus points and, there's still room for improvement. So talk about after that first game, what the message was to the team going into the North Carolina swing.
Yeah. Road games are really tough in college basketball, man. And playing up at Harkin College in the Philadelphia area, their crowd is always into it. Starting the game the right way is huge, try to take that crowd out of it. I don't know if we started the game the right way, but we definitely finished it the right way. And we played really good basketball throughout the course of that game, after our slow start. And same as, in North Carolina, road games are tough. The crowd is on you. They're not your rims. It's not your court. It's not your floor. Your routine is kind of different. So us starting off with 4 straight road games, our AD didn't leave us any breaks, but I love it. It builds character right from the rip. And we started out pretty strong.
Yeah. If you look at the final scores down in North Carolina, taking down in the Carly Ray Classic presented and hosted by Cape Fear. The first game you take care of Brunswick 85-56, and then you defeat the host 84-55. And, to the lay fan, just looking at that final score, the Knights were dominant. They did their thing. They got out of there with some wins.
Yeah.
But really the starts of those games were 2 different starts. Take me through, we'll start with the Brunswick game. You guys got out pretty quick on a 13-1 run and just really didn't take the foot off the gas.
Yeah, all 30-point wins aren't created equal, I guess. The first game against Brunswick, we jumped out on them early. Couldn't ask for a better start on the road. Now that was a road game, but it was a neutral site where we 2 teams just met up and played. So we came out really hot and we came out the way we wanted to. And we really never looked back. So that Brunswick game kind of got us going for our Saturday game against the host Cape Fear.
Yeah, in that game, we talked about it. We wrote about it. A little bit of a different start, trailing 9-2 to begin that game. Then you guys kind of claw back. You take a 15-3 lead after the first frame, and a 3-point lead at halftime, 32-29. But you had mentioned in the quote that we used in the article, the third quarter is usually our money quarter. Talk to me about what happened out of halftime of that game.
Rock, it sometimes our style, it takes a little bit for even us to get going, but we definitely believe that, we'll wear you down as the game go along. And that first half of that Cape Fear game, it was different than the Brunswick game. It was a little bit more intense. The crowd was in it. It was the anniversary, or it was close to the anniversary of Carly Rae Barron passing tragically. Her family was there. They retired her jersey. It was a really emotional game. So they came out with a lot of fire. They came out with a lot of fight. And we kind of really didn't match it early on. Like you said, they started out on a 9-2 run on us to start the game out. But I love the way our girls responded, man. They came out and midway through that first quarter, and like you said, really clawed their way back into that game, really had to fight. You know what I mean? For everything we had in that first half. And we only took a 3-point lead in the halftime off of a last second basket that took our lead from 1 point to 3. Really, really tough road game. But like you said, man, we like that third quarter, we like to really put our weight on the people, because we know that we're hitting another level and they're kind of, wearing down. And we did that. I think we started the third quarter on a 16-2 run, and, never really looked back from there.
Awesome. Yeah, you take care of business in Carolina. We're gonna look at a couple of stat categories, and I'll start off with the one that I think may have you running the hottest. What we've come to know and love about these Mike Seney led teams, even though it has been so long, is this is truly a live by the three, die by the three team.
Yes, sir.
And the statistics will bear that out. I know when we talked in the opening season preview, there's a goal of hitting 400 3-pointers this year. Looking early on, I know it's still early and it's, 3 games of 28 or 29, but sitting at just about 30% 3 points. Who's taking this worse or more seriously, however you want to look at it? Is it the coaches or is it the student athletes?
Well, that's a good question, right? Usually it'd be the coaches, but we have 2 girls this year who are really taking what I say about that 3-point line personally, and Kendall Haggerty and Jalen Swann. They're going to lead us in attempts all year. I can guarantee you that. And they want to make sure our percentage is right as well. And we kind of got off to a slow start at Harcum, and we got off to an even slower start at Brunswick. But what I like right now, Rock, we're getting the attempts, we're getting the shots that we want. And I know they'll start to fall because we're getting everything we want right now. We just got to make sure we focus in and knock down the percentage that we want to knock them down at.
Sure. I mean, and I get it. There's only so much you can practice. There's only so much you can simulate in practice. You really do need those game reps in order to get your footing and get your style and get everything down pat.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's absolutely right. And like I said, it kind of takes time with us because we play such a unique style. But like I said, we're getting the hard part is getting the looks that you want, and we're getting the looks that we want. So now the easy part is just knocking them down.
So I know another thing before we get to some really big, awesome things. Another thing that may have you going right now is how much time is this team spending at the free throw line at practice after these first 3 games?
Rock, it's been a lot. The last 2 days of practice has been a lot of free throws, because we want to make sure, we're not beating ourselves, especially on the road, man. You got to make sure you knock down free throws, and we haven't been doing it at a great rate, so there's been a lot of free throws on our practice plan the last few days.
Yeah, just 65% hit right now. Like we said, 30% on the 3-pointers. And I think that is, at least for me, but for the fans of this team, I think that's the scary part, is that those 2 numbers are slowly, building, and you guys are still winning by 30. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I feel very sorry for Region 20 this year when this team starts to heat up.
Yeah, it's funny, right? We talk about it every single game. When we start knocking down these shots, I can only imagine what our offensive numbers will look like.
Here's one of the stats that for me is very impressive. Looking at the rebounds for this team, total rebounds per game, almost 56%. But the number that stands out to me is the defensive rebounds per game. You guys are averaging just over 37 defensive rebounds per game. Tell me what goes into that and what people should be looking at when the Knights are on defense.
We have a really, really good back line on defense. That's what we call our back line. And what makes it special is our guards will even come down and help our back line out. So, our big trees down there, Vanessa Woodfolk and Anasia Staten, who are rebounding the ball really, really well. They're getting help from guards like, Patricia Anungba and Kendall Haggerty, who are going down there and rebounding the ball well. We call it gang rebounding. We want to gang rebound so we can get out and run. And we're doing a really good job of that. I thought we would prior to the season because I knew we had some defensive anchors down there. And I also figured that our guards will help rebound as well because we got some really tough guards as well. And like I said, they really take it personal, the gang rebound. And obviously that starts our break, and that's what we like to do.
Absolutely. And we're going to give you an opportunity here to talk about some of these young ladies, but I want to start it off with a young lady that's going to be joining the show next, and that's Lyric Swann. As we found out earlier this week, the Week 1 NJCAA Division II Women's Basketball Player of the Week. She averaged just over 25 points per game, hitting 42% of her shots, 41% from three-point land, and averaging 6 boards, 9 assists a game. I can't think of anybody more deserving after 3 road games to start the season. I know you've talked about her before, but tell us a little bit more about Lyric.
The word that comes to mind, man, is general. She really is leading the troops really, really well. And it's not really just all about what she's doing, scoring the ball. I know that 25, a game kind of pops out at you, and don't get me wrong, she's scoring the ball at a really, really good level. But how efficient she's been doing it, I think is really a testament to the work that she's put in. She's shooting the 3 ball at over a 40% clip, while averaging 25 a game and shooting around 8 or 9 attempts. That's efficient, man.
Yeah.
And the way she's leading this ball club is it's a sight to see, because she's grown so much throughout the course of the preseason. She's had some growing pains, being a leader, and, to see her step into that role throughout the course of this early part of the season, man, it's been a joy to watch. And her teammates are following her. So, she's playing really good basketball right now. And we just want her to keep it up. When we watching film, she's yelling at herself like, man, I could be doing more. And when you have a player that had the week that she had and is hungry to be better, it says a lot about her character and where she wants to go with this thing.
Absolutely. And before I open it up to you, I got one more young lady I'd like to hear more thoughts on. Patty Anungba, averaging 15 a game. She's in the leaderboard of this team, top 3 or 4 in multiple categories, 7 boards a game. She's hitting 40% of her shots. Tell me what she brings to the court for this team.
Pat's our soul, man. She's our soul. She everything we do defensively starts with Pat, and our entire transition, starts with her. She takes people out of the game on defense. If she's guarding you, you're going to have a tough night. And then what she does on the offensive end, getting us going in transition, getting us going downhill, it brings a lot to our ball club, because what that does is, it collapses the defense, and she does a really good job of finding our shooters. Pat, like you said, she does everything. There's literally nothing on the basketball court she doesn't do at a high level. That's offensively and defensively. She struggled a little bit shooting the 3 ball, as a lot of us have to start the season off. But what she's doing on defense and how she's getting downhill, attacking the rim, it's the reason why she's, like you said, top 2 or 3 in almost every category. She's playing her butt off, and we love it.
That's great. And before I let you go, we got about 2 minutes here. Kind of tell me some more about the team, any other individuals that you want to talk about.
Yeah, everybody, man. Vanessa Woodfolk had she had an aha moment, if you will, against Cape Fear, and understanding how dominant she can be. We're just coming together at the right time, and I love the road trip at the beginning of the year because it kind of brings you together early, as a family, and kind of you get tested a little bit, like you said, that Carly Ray Classic down there in North Carolina. It was a nice crowd and a very nice moment for that family and that ball club down there in Cape Fear, and for us to come together during that game, that tough physical, emotional game. It really says something about our nucleus.
I think that's a great point. The road swings to start a season, because it's one thing, we see it in the NCAA. Like, it's one thing for UConn to schedule, University of Texas at A&M, Houston State, and blow them out by 110. But it's another to learn about your team through these road games and travel and everything. That's a really good point.
Yes, sir. And like I tell the girls all the time, when we hit our first part of adversity, that's when I know the type of team we'll be. And we hit it kind of early. Like I said, that Cape Fear game, it was tough. It was a grinded out game. And we regrouped in a locker room when we came out and played basketball in the third quarter like we knew how. That adversity early on, it set the tone for us and hopefully for the rest of this year.
Excellent. Good stuff as always, Mike. I appreciate you joining me, and look forward as the season moves on to having you and the team on a pretty regular basis.
Thanks, Rock. I appreciate you always.
You're welcome. There he is, head coach Mike Seney of the Knights women's basketball team. They have a road game November 11th against Del Tech, and then they are at the Kingdom for the first time since March of 2020 to take on a good Monroe squad. Unfortunately, spectators not allowed at the games, but please make sure you go to the YouTube home of the Knights. That's youtube.com/CCBC Essex Knights. Subscribe to the channel. You can set it up so that you're notified when we go live or when we upload new content like this episode, and be ready to watch this team just really get at it. Make sure you follow them on social media. On Twitter, they're at Knights_WBB, and on Instagram at CCBC Essex_WBB. Once again, Mike, thanks for joining us. We're going to hit a break, folks. We'll be back in 30 seconds where the women's basketball talk continues, as we have on the reigning Division II Player of the Week, Lyric Swann, here on the Kingdom Podcast, a podcast dedicated to CCBC Essex Athletics.
Let's talk about college. Times have changed. When it comes to realizing who I am and what I can be, I will not tie my dreams to somebody else's definition of success. I will not confuse a fancy name with a good education.
For all the practical thinkers, the achievers, the can't wait to get started types out there, your community college is waiting. Rethink what's possible with CCBC. Visit us online at ccbcmd.edu and see what you can be.
And we are back here on the Kingdom Podcast. My thanks again to head women's basketball coach Mike Seney for joining me today. And sticking with women's basketball, as we said we would, I welcome in now the reigning Division II women's basketball National Player of the Week, Lyric Swann. Lyric, thanks for joining me.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. So let's start there. How cool is it, after three really tough road games, when you factor in travel and all this and everything of the sort, how cool is it to win National Player of the Week for week one?
Oh, I'm super grateful for it. It's such an honor to be recognized as that.
And for those of you that didn't catch it earlier, over those three games, Lyric averaged 25 points per game, hitting 42% of her shots, 41% from behind the arc, and 73% from the charity stripe. She pulled down just over 6 boards and had 9 assists per game. Talk about when you go into a game, and we're going to get into those first 3 games here in a second. Talk about when you go into a game, what is your mentality? What is your mindset to get you ready for the game? Kind of take us through your pregame routine, so to speak.
My mindset going into a game is that, I have to play like it's my last game, because, some people don't have the opportunity to play. So I'm using this as a chance, to showcase, everything that I got. And, when I play, I want to make myself better, but also my teammates better. So making them better in any way that I can. But this year we want to win a national championship. We have all the tools we need with, an amazing staff, amazing players I'm surrounded with. So we're excited to do our thing this season.
It's awesome that you mentioned also making your team better. And I don't know that you could have gotten out of the gate any better. That first game against Harcum, you went and on the scoring side of things, you went and scored 26 points, which was at that point a season high that you would break 2 days later. But to your point about making your teammates better, 13 assists in game one isn't too shabby. You finished with 6 rebounds and a double-double on your 26 points. Talk about when you're looking to distribute the ball, talk about what you're looking at and how it leads to those numbers.
Yeah. When I'm looking to distribute the ball, I'm looking to place my teammates in the best, possible place for them. So, I know where, their strengths and weaknesses on the court are. So I try to get them in the most successful place possible. But for the offensive end, I try to have, a balance of scoring, but also passing. So right now I'm first in the nation in assists. So I hope to keep it that way. But my teammates are amazing, finishing their shots, getting to the spots they need to be.
That's a good point. It's one thing to be able to throw that ball around, but you have to have a team around you that is able to finish. And so far, this team has showed that they can, averaging 85 points per game. One of the things that I talked to Coach Seney about was the 3-point shooting. And I asked him, who is taking this more to heart? Is it the coaches or is it the student athletes? And he said, usually it would be the coaches, but right now it's the other way around. So talk to me about that 3-point prowess that I'm sure we'll see at some point this year. What is the team's mindset on making that better?
Our team side's mindset on this is that, we want to score the ball. Like you said, we're averaging about 80 points per game, but this is only our first year playing together. So we're still getting into hang of things. Hopefully, our goal is to average, over 100 points per game. So a way we can do that is, getting 3-point shots. So we've been working on that in practice, out of practice. And that's something that gets us going. When a teammate makes a 3-pointer, when someone makes a 3-pointer, all of us are hyped. And, that gets us going on the defensive end as well.
Absolutely. Another thing I wanted to ask you about is looking over these first 3 games is your durability and conditioning. You've played in 109 of 120 minutes through the first 3 games. For you, what is that conditioning like? How do you get yourself into a position going into the season and then throughout the season that you can stand and handle that many minutes per game?
Well, before the season, I was trying to do as much conditioning as I could. I would try to do, a lot of sprinting, a lot of long distance, every single day of the summer I could because, our season, was taken away by COVID. So I had to get back in shape. And during the season, I try to, maintain by taking care of my body, either by taking ice baths, doing strengthening for my knees or my ankles, because, it's really important for me to take care of my body to be able to last the whole season.
It makes sense. Let's switch gears a little bit here. We're gonna talk about family. Very fortunate for I think your entire playing career to be on the court at the same time as your sister. The two of you went to UMBC together. You transfer here to CCBC Essex together. Talk to me about what it's like to have your sister on the floor with you.
Oh, it's amazing to have her on the floor. Yes. I've been blessed, to have her around, and I'm so thankful that we're able to play together again. And I just feel like, we have a special connection on the court. So I'm so glad, we're able to play together. We balance each other really well. Me being more of like a driver creator, she's more of a shooter. So I feel like we complement each other really well. So hopefully, after the season, we'll be able to play again together, at our next school. But I'm so thankful for her.
Give us some insight as to what it's like to be a twin. Like, is there really that unspoken, just sixth sense between the two of you when you're on the court?
Yeah, it happens to us on the court and off the court. Like there's things that happen where we can just look at each other and read each other's minds. So it's really special, to have that connection. And then our coaching staff understands that too, like how close we are and how important it is for us to be together, because we do have twins on the coaching staff as well.
So an interesting thing, we seem to here at Essex attract unique twins in that your sister comes in at 5'11", you come in at 5'6". A few years ago, we had twin sisters on the soccer team that were both about 5 or 6 inches apart too. Is that something you guys get asked about a lot?
Yeah, I was joking about she always took, all the height in the womb, but yeah, it's good because it creates a balance and it's like a way we can like complement each other in different ways. She has, more of the height, the length, and I have more of like the speed and the quickness. So we complement each other really well with that.
It's really funny. One more family question for you. And at some point this season, we had to talk about this. I got to tell you, we come across a lot of parental supporters of our student athletes, and your mom has jumped into my top 3 parent supporters. She is so active in just championing the two of you, the program. There are times when she gets active on social media on something before I have an opportunity to. I'm loving the interactions with her. So talk to me about your mom and what she means to you, your sister, and her social media prowess.
I love my mom so much. Coming out of high school, it was really important to me that she can attend all my games. That's one of the reasons why I chose UMBC, because our connection is really important to the both of us. So, having the ability, for both of us to be at UMBC and now both of us are at CCBC, she can be able to attend both of our games at the same time without having to worry about different colleges. And she's honestly our biggest supporter, our team's biggest supporter. All of my teammates love her. She's always there for any of us, texting us after games. As you said, supporting us on social media. She loves to, support us in any way possible. And she truly means a lot to me. And I don't know where I would be without her.
That's really great. Not a lot of student athletes have that opportunity. And it's really cool to see you taking it on so well. And I tell you, if I had the budget, I would bring your mom on as a social media consultant. That's how good she is.
She would love that.
Hey, listen, Lyric, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Congratulations again for your award. Again, the NJCAA Division II Women's Basketball Player of the Week. It's a great honor, and we're looking forward to seeing you all out on the court in the days to come.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Once again, thank you to Lyric Swann for joining us. We're going to hit our final commercial break of the episode. When we return in 30 seconds, we're going to talk some more about our champions, men's soccer, heading out to Wichita, Kansas, and our cross-country runners to Richmond, Virginia for their respective national tournaments. We'll be back here on the Kingdom Podcast, a podcast dedicated to CCBC Essex Athletics.
Let's talk about college. Times have changed. When it comes to realizing who I am and what I can be, I will not tie my dreams to somebody else's definition of success. I will not confuse a fancy name with a good education.
For all the practical thinkers, the achievers, the can't wait to get started types out there, your community college is waiting. Rethink what's possible with CCBC. Visit us online at ccbcmd.edu and see what you can be.
Hello, Knights Nation. We are back here on the Kingdom Podcast. Final segment. Once again, thank you to head women's basketball coach Mike Seney, as well as the current NJCAA Division II Women's Basketball Player of the Week, Lyric Swann. And to finish things out today, we're going to talk more about national championships going on beginning very soon. On Saturday the 13th, our men's and women's cross-country runners will be down in Richmond, Virginia for the Division II national meet. Right now, we're going to talk some men's soccer. As we talked last week, the Knights men's soccer team, the number 1 seed in Wichita, Kansas at the Division II men's soccer championships. And pool play will begin on Monday, and the Knights will have a 12 noon game. In their pool this year is Heartland Community College and Carl Sandburg. A quick adjustment, as originally in the pool was Massasoit. Massasoit out of the tournament. We do not know the reasons why for that, and the committee choosing Heartland Community College to take their place. A really tough team in Heartland Community College. Those of you familiar with the men's soccer team will know the last time these two teams met were at these championships in the spring in the national semifinal game. The Knights took down Heartland 3-2 in a very toughly contested game. The game started in the 12th minute, scoring by Heartland. They got on the board first. In the 30th minute, the Knights' Henry Ortiz with the goal to tie things up, assisted by Marvin Martinez. And before halftime, Heartland getting on the board to take a 2-1 lead into the break in the 36th minute. It would not be until the 60th minute that the Knights would equal the game again. A goal by Kota Tuchizawa, and it would stay that way very nervously as those of us watched both in person and at home. In the 87th minute, Taki Murakawa hits the game winner on a direct kick. The Knights go on to the national championship after that game, winning it 3-2. In the game, Brendan Lemaster making 5 outstanding saves. He did have to miss a little bit of time to shake off an injury and get himself right, but played really well in that game to get the Knights to their first national championship game since 1989. Things, as I said, will get started on Monday. The game time is noon Eastern Standard Time as they take on Heartland Community College. You can find out more about the broadcast of those games at the NJCAA website, njcaa.org. You can buy day passes. You can buy other types of passes as well and go through them for those broadcasts. The Knights will have a day off in between their games on Tuesday, and then they're back on the field against Carl Sandburg College on Wednesday. Again, that game being played at noon. For those of you not aware, the Knights got to this point after winning their 10th consecutive Region 20 title and second straight Mid-Atlantic District title. That game wrapped into the region game against Howard Community College, the finals of that game on October 30th. And things were a little slow going for the Knights in that game as we went to halftime scoreless. In the second half, the Knights, Andy Portillo, in the 50th minute, took the ball to the left side of the field and from about 20 yards out, put a left-footed shot into the upper right 90 to put the Knights on the board. It would turn out that's all they would need. However, for good measure, in the 56th minute, Sam Mejia hit a goal on a direct kick to give the Knights a 2-0 lead. And then in the 78th minute, for good measure, the final nail in the coffin, Sam Diaz on an assist from Michael Adekambe to put the Knights up by the final score 3-0. In that game, Brendan Lemaster was all over the field, 5 saves to keep the Dragons off the board. On the cross-country side of things, the Knights, as I said, will be down in Richmond, Virginia for the NJCAA Division II Men's and Women's Cross-Country Championships. It's going to be 4 Knights, 2 men, 2 women, running in those championships as head coach Noah Hutton has gotten them into a good position this year. Great progressions all season long to get them to that point. For the Knights, the reigning Division II region champion Braden Berkey out of Loch Raven High School. He'll be running for the men. Also, Sam Smith from Eastern Tech High School will be in the running as well. It's going to be an 8K run for the men. On the women's side, Madison Magaha, she took the Region 20 Division II championship on the women's side. She's out of Patapsco High School. And Natalia Johnson, she'll be running with her in that race, a 6K race for the women from Sparrows Point High School. We wish them the best of luck, as that will happen on November 13th, probably right around the time that we're going to be getting this episode up. So stay tuned to ccbcessexnights.com. We'll have updates on all the national championship happenings over the next few days. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you once again for listening. You all of our listeners out there have made these episodes so worth doing. We continue to have fun putting out this product for you, and really appreciate you coming back week after week to listen. Thank you very much. Also like to thank again our head women's basketball coach, Mike Seney, for coming on the show, as well as Lyric Swann from the women's basketball team. And we wish them the best of luck as they play their home opener November 13th, 2 p.m. tip. And you can watch that on the YouTube home of the Knights at youtube.com/CCBC Essex Knights. Make sure you go and subscribe there, because anytime we upload anything or we go live, you can receive a notification on your cell phone or mobile device to let you know that we're live or that we've uploaded new content. And keep an eye out on that website. We mentioned it a few moments ago, ccbcessexknights.com, and you'll have all the updated information that we put out about our teams. If you want more of a live take on that information, keep an eye on our social media handles. All of our team social media handles for fall and winter sports are in the episode description. For the athletics department, it is at CCBC Essex Sports, and that will take care of Twitter and Instagram. On Facebook, just keyword search CCBC Essex Athletics, and you can follow us on Facebook as well. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and until next time, so long, be well, and stay safe. Bye-bye.